wanted to create a convention that we felt like was truly built from the ground up to be very we wanted to create a convention that we felt like was truly built from the ground up to be very inclusive of everyone, like make everyone feel like they really belong in the world of fandom, because they do. Everybody deserves a seat at the table and deserves to feel comfortable and safe attending events, and not to be shut out of like networking opportunities and fun stuff to do. So that was the original impetus, and it's been so much fun that we keep doing it, just because it's the number of awesome people that we've met along the way, and just how much everyone, including us, looks forward to that weekend in October every year. It's not that big a stretch to say that sometimes people do go and then come out a little bit changed on the other side of it, at least in terms of their new friends and their new thoughts on things, and like rejuvenated inspiration.
I think the conversations is what Jesse means. When you come out of it and you've had all of these amazing conversations that you don't necessarily get to have in everyday life, people who are smart and funny and usually quite goofy, and it's becoming a family.
So we end where we began, at the Peach Tree Hotel, spotlighting the future of the multiverse. And it's brightened by guests like science fiction author and writing teacher H.D. Hunter. Then we'll explore the future of Go Indie Now and what's ahead this fall, including some more spotlighting on the multiverse. And finally, the future of Multiverse depends on you. So here we are, all that in this mid-season finale of the Spotlight on the Multiverse with your host, Joe Compton. Hello, everybody. Yes, welcome to Spotlight on the Multiverse. I am Joe Compton. Sorry for all the glitchiness at the beginning. I don't know what happened there. I kind of lost space and time and everything. It's the multiverse, right? The multiverse just freaks us out all the time. As you can see, I am with the awesome H.D. Hunter with me today, and I'm real excited to talk to him about multiverse and everything he's doing. But sir, I always allow the opening question for you to expand upon the little introduction I gave you. So please tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thank you. And again, thanks for having me. Super excited about Multiverse and to be here, just talking with you and being able to share the platform. So I appreciate the space. My name is H.D. Hunter. I go by Hugh in conversation. I was born and raised in Atlanta and have been here most of my life. I kind of bounced around a little bit after college, but I started writing professionally, self-publishing my own books in 2016, and did that for a number of years until I ended up getting a book deal for this science fiction trilogy called Futureland, about a kid who lives in a flying theme park. And I've put out the first installment of that book in 2022, the second one in 2023, and then the final one is this year. And so, with so much, I guess I've had a part of indie, a part of traditional, and I feel like I'm finally hitting that good, like, convergence in the road where I know how to manage both and how to have both as a part of my career. But yeah, I love to read. I love to write. I love working with kids. I love taking naps when I get the rare opportunity. And yeah, I'm a pretty simple person, but those are the important things.
And what is becoming the theme of this spotlight series is we have another first timer in the midst here. Mr. Hunter this is his first time, and joining us at Multiverse, which we're real excited about. And you know, as I contended with every other first timer, that this is a really good time to be a first timer because we're moving to a new hotel with a new space and everything like that. We're all going to be a little bit of a first timer, so that's going to be exciting. Tell everybody a little bit about how the path to Multiverse was led for you. How did you get to Multiverse?
Yeah, so last year's Multiverse, I'm in this big Discord with all of these different authors from different places, and there were a few people kind of talking about the conference and how great it was. And so, you know, I'm like, this sounds amazing. And, you know, once again, being from Atlanta, but I just wasn't really aware. I feel like I'm still on the traditional side of my book deal. I am still learning about different events where readers and fandoms gather and how to be a part of those communities. So my eyes are always open and my ears are always kind of pricking up to things that I haven't participated in. And so I was like, wow, this is in Atlanta. So I definitely feel like I need to be aware of it. And it just seems like such a cool space that's really focused. You know, as an author, I've been around to different events, and some of them are like, there are going to be moms here who love to buy books for their kids. There are going to be kids here or teachers or librarians. But this is my first time understanding, you know, my opportunity to be a part of an event that's like, these are fans. These are people who are deep into like the genres and the categories. So that made it really exciting for me. And I talked to some of the people who went last year about their experience. They were saying it was great. And so, yeah, I was just waiting for my chance when the application call opened up for this year, and was fortunate enough to be accepted. So, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
Was there anything anything specific when you looked at the survey and looked at the opportunities that are in front of you that you were really interested in that struck your eye?
There was the first impression that I had was like, there were so many things. Like, there were so many offerings, and I was just kind of blown away that so much is even happening at the convention. And, you know, another element was like the balance between the more traditional literary kind of opportunities to talk about, you know, work, and then also like on the film side and on the gaming side. And so I just felt like it was going to be a great event for me to go and participate in some area, like the book side, where I feel like I can say a lot about these things, but then also on the film side, where like I have a little bit of history in that as well, but not as a current active, you know, artist in the film. I'm like, well, I can be a moderator for this sort of thing. You know, I can participate in other ways and sort of be a part of different conversations. So yeah, everything that had to do with horror, I was like, my eyes were popping out. I was like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. The offerings that had to do with kids, obviously, you know, being a kid-lit author, I was like, definitely want to participate in those. And then a variety of conversations about social justice. And I think that that's like, you know, it's very important to me, but to see a space carved out for it at a major convention like this is, you know, I just think that's a testament to the intentionality that the organizers have. And I'm really excited about those conversations, especially.
Well, that's cool that you're looking at the horror track. That means that maybe you and I will be on a panel together then. And yeah, I do. The film is my wheelhouse, so I'm real excited about that. So
yeah, we got to talk horror film sometime.
Right. That sounds good. You know, the other thing about Multiverse that I'm not sure if you're aware of, maybe you are, but they're for the first time putting together a kids track. So they're going to have a bunch of kids there that are going to be participating in that, which is kind of your wheelhouse as well. That's got to be exciting for you to be able to, you know, expand your readership a little bit. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was made aware of that after I was accepted. So, you know, it wasn't like a deciding factor. I wanted to come either way, but
right.
Once I was accepted to participate, I did, you know, see that in terms of the planning. And it was just like, this is perfect. Like, what more could I really ask for? You know, I was just talking to someone earlier about that and trying to find my way with, you know, because when you're, I guess, starting out and wanting to get your name out there, it's like, I want to be a part of every opportunity where somebody will have me. But
Sure.
and I'm always grateful for chances to participate in things. And at the same time, I think I'm learning where my favorite things are and what experiences that I really enjoy. And I know that kids being present in the actual space, like parents are great. And when they say, this sounds awesome, I'm gonna take it back for my kid, my heart soars. But when the kids are there, it's like a different level of happiness for me. So really, really excited about that added track for this year.
Will the third book be out by the time Multiverse comes out?
Unfortunately not. It'll be about a month away at that point. But a lot of people are still getting caught up on the series.
Yeah, there you go. That's how you do it.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like I'm telling people who are finding out about the first book, this year or late last year, like if you start reading now, you can pretty much read straight through and finish up in November. So it's a good time for me to be meeting new readers and meeting people so that they can kind of jump on the train as it's moving.
That's awesome. I love that. Yeah. Are you on the side of Peach Tree City, or is that a little bit of a hop, skip, and a jump for you?
Yeah, everything in Atlanta is like far away from everything.
Yeah.
Especially when you account for traffic.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have a really good friend that lives in Fairburn. So, that's right around the way from there. I'm down there pretty often, just hanging out with him. But I actually live in the West End. So, up west of the city where our historically Black colleges and universities are, really close to Morehouse, Spelman, Clark Atlanta, that sort of area. But yeah, it's not a bad ride at all, especially for something like this.
Yeah. I was, my first impression when I was there is if there's any kind of fog in the morning and you go through those trees, talk about your horror movie setup, right?
100%. You don't need any machines. You don't need any post. You're good.
Yeah.
Just get the raw shot.
Yeah, and I'll have my camera there, so I might film something while I'm walking through the woods or something.
Might as well. Yeah, no, that's another thing about Peach Tree City is you're a little bit, outside Atlanta proper, so you do get that you have the more dense nature. You have like the quieter feel, which can be really peaceful, really eerie, whichever way you want to make it.
Mm. As a native Atlantean, how important is it that there's conferences like this out there for you? Do you feel like this is giving Atlanta some good breath?
Yeah, 100%. One of my favorite things about Atlanta, which I always tell people particularly people who transplant here, is that you can literally find every type of people here. Like no matter what your interests are, your background is, even aspirationally, like if you have certain goals, it's just such a diverse, metropolitan area that you could think you're the only person for miles and miles who enjoys this thing, but there will be someone else. And I know like in smaller places or in places with less diversity, sometimes it is hard to find those folks that you really connect with on certain, topics or fandoms. But I think that a convention like this, it represents that beautiful part of Atlanta, that there are so many different types of people here with so many different interests. And, to me, Multiverse is like a great symbol of that. And I'm excited for even more people to know about it, learn about it, and continue participating, because I know that it's a space that a lot of people can go and feel affirmed and make new friends and see old friends. It's just like, it is very Atlanta in and of its essence to me.
That's awesome. I love that. All right, Mr. Hunter, let's talk future world and talk about, give everybody an overview first of the book and the series.
Yeah, for sure. So middle grade series, and our protagonist, Cameron Walker, he starts the book. He's 11 years old. His parents are the world's most foremost technologists, and they've created this theme park called Futureland that actually travels all around the world. So instead of you having to pack up the jalopy and head down 75, trying to get to Orlando, right? You can just wait. And if you're patient enough, then Futureland will come to your city or city near you very, very soon. They do 4 cities a year for 3 months at a time. Because they move so much, They have automatons that basically run all of the park functions, serving the food, operating the rides. And also Cameron has been homeschooled his whole life by an automaton because you can't really be in school on the ground and helping out in the park at the same time, especially when you're moving so often. And so we're setting up this, high tech, almost Jurassic Park-esque sort of like theme park thing. Cameron comes to Atlanta. His mother is originally from there. So she says, this is our family city. Your grandmother lives here. I feel a bit more comfortable with you going to a regular school and meeting some new friends. And Cam is a little nervous, but he's willing to give it a try. And so he starts that part of his sort of new journey. But as soon as the walkers get to Atlanta, the technology that helps the park run starts to glitch. And then on opening night of Futureland being available for, patronage to the Atlanta community, one of the local Atlanta kids who visits the park goes missing. And so Cam sort of takes it as his responsibility to work with his new public school friends to solve the mystery of why the tech is glitching and where the missing kids are going. That mystery takes them to a certain point where they figure some stuff out, but not everything. And that's the Atlanta book. The next book is in New York City, where they figure out a little bit more. And then the finale, which is coming out this November, is actually in Cairo, Egypt. It's just like a big bonanza of all the scores being settled and, get to see all of our characters who we've met in action. But yeah, it's just a really fun, very science fiction-y adventure mystery mashup of this kid learning about friendship and learning about the world. He knows about the technology world already, but he gets all of these experiences to learn about the other cool things that exist outside of that realm.
I'm gonna guess you're a pretty big Westworld fan.
It's funny that you say that because one of the original comps that we did, like when we were trying to find a publisher, was Westworld, of course. Yeah. But when I go places and talk about the book, I always leave that out because I'm thinking that I might be talking to kids. I don't talk about Westworld with the kids. I usually change it to Jurassic Park, both Michael Crichton, like brain chipping or whatever. But yes, Westworld, deep. I watched so much Westworld and took so many notes. It was, I remember those days.
Have you I assume you've seen the original film as well?
Yes, I saw the original film, which I enjoyed. And then there was a sequel, which I didn't enjoy as much. And then I watched most of the show. I think midway around the third season, I kind of fell off a little bit. I was watching it for research, and there were definitely parts that I enjoyed, but they took the story some places that I didn't really expect. And by the third season, I was like, oh, okay, I think I've had my fill.
I would imagine in writing a theme park-esque kind of adventure or, mystery to a certain extent, that there is some technical things that you want to get right? There's some technicalities, there's little nuances to how these rides work and how things happen. How much research did you go into, and how important is it for you, even in a children's story where adventure is going to rule and ultimately, all the lessons that you're teaching are going to rule as well, but still a level of authenticity has to be there. Do you feel like that's the case? Is that super important to you?
It is very important to me, and not to say it's not important to my publisher, but it's almost like too important to me, because that was the battle of my first draft of the first manuscript. It's like the research component is usually my favorite component of like bookmaking as a whole process. I have a really fun time just learning new things myself and being able to make sense of them. And so I was studying physics, and it's just like I was just finding everything I could find, different, AI, obviously. And so, yes, there's a sort of baseline standard that I hold myself to, and I want things to make sense. I get questions from kids. They're like, well, how does the park just stay in the air, right? Like, how does it run without being plugged into anything, And so these are all things that I have accounted for. Obviously, we have some extrapolation, and I don't have formulas in the book or anything, but I can talk to you about different uses of solar energy, which the park runs off of, and kind of how we could think about solar as we currently know it. And if we were in a more technologically advanced future, like how this will be possible for the park to run off this energy. And so I get really into that stuff. In my first draft, my publisher was like, "This is great. You're really smart. Take it out." The kids need to be enjoying the ride and not getting distracted by the science.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of my barometer. It's like, how much of this can I include to, one, make sure that folks feel like I'm, I have integrity in the things that I'm creating and trying to talk about. And then two, that it's not distracting. Like those are if I can do those two things, then that's a good level I've figured out at least for this age of children.
I tend to believe that we underestimate kids and how much they care about that stuff too, though. I would imagine when you talk to kids about who have read this series that they have interesting, you were alluding to it even, that they have interesting and unique questions that probably no adult would think of because their mind is working overtime because they're trying to figure everything out, right? So I think there's a level of underestimation with kids as well. Would you feel that's accurate to say?
In so many areas, like not just in the technical aspects, but in the social and emotional topics and
I love
language. Even sometimes it's like, I know that there's, obviously there's just not one type of kid who's a reader. It's so diverse. And so it's impossible to play to everybody, but I also don't think it serves us to play to kind of one group, right? Like, let's just do general readers that aren't too sciencey, right? Like you got to make your choices. And I want my book to be something that a broad range of kids can pick up and enjoy. And to me, some of the more technical aspects is a part of, they can be a part of that enjoyment.
Sure.
The way that you would learn something new, or at least be curious enough to ask somebody else about it or talk about it. There was a school actually here in Georgia that picked the first Futureland book for this sort of interdisciplinary study thing that they do, where the entire grade reads the same book. And then each class, in terms of like your different class subjects, they teach a unit based on that book. And so there were middle grade science teachers teaching about science concepts, but as it relates to Futureland. And then there were math teachers kind of helping out with different formulas of things that relate to Futureland. And so, like, I think that is a perfect example of, like, hopefully they had a good experience with it. They told me they did, but like, to be able to create, I was proud of myself for creating something that people of different, sort of expertises can look at from different angles and say, there's something for me to latch onto here and, have my favorite conversation about it.
Nice. Yeah, Jesse says that kids will always surprise you if you don't underestimate them. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Yeah, I agree.
Are you when you have stuff like that with the science teachers and the math teachers, are you kind of looking at what they're doing and kind of sneakily, I won't say steal, but kind of observing so that you could absorb it for maybe a future book of Futureland?
In that particular case, I wasn't there for the lesson. I was there after for like an assembly. So they told me about it and I was like, I wish I would have been able to see that. But yeah, I think that, once again, just being somebody who loves to learn new things. And I know it's 7th grade science, but I took that a long time ago. And I'm sure that they're teaching some different versions of stuff now, and new scientific concepts have been discovered since then. So yeah, had I had the opportunity to participate in the lesson, I'm sure that something would have sparked in my mind of like, okay, I can use this.
I love talking about this with young adults and children book writers. You're inhabiting the body of a age that because you've been through, but was back a while ago. So re-inviting that energy into you as a writer, what does that do for you? How do you handle it? Is it something that lingers with you? Do you have to find a certain space to get into that energy? How do you inhabit an 11-year-old Cameron?
That's a great question. Yeah, I have the great fortune to spend a lot of time with kids through like different school visits, and sometimes I substitute teach at a school here locally to Atlanta, and so I get to be around them enough to where I feel like I can sort of understand some of the things that they care about and some of the things that interest them, some of the questions they have about our society, like those big pieces. I'm really appreciative to even be in communication with kids enough to have a sense of those things, and it's a part of my life. It doesn't have to be like a discrete research study, right? Like I have constant exposure to it. The one thing that I really didn't have and had to cultivate was like the sense of humor for that age. When I was trying to like, write quippy, funny stuff in the first draft, everybody was like, what are you saying? And so trying to get in the mindset of like, what is funny to an 11-year-old and then like an 11-year-old today, like it was so hard. But, when you talk about inviting that energy back in, I think is another way of saying it for me. And this process was like, just seeing the world a different way, like looking at the world, and instead of, me as right now, looking at it as a kid as right now and being like, what's kind of odd or strange or amusing about this, as opposed to me looking at it as an adult and being like, nah, it's just, that's just how things are. So that curiosity and like the connections that your brain makes when you don't know as much or aren't as jaded yet, or, whatever the thing is. That was a fun part of the process, but also a challenging part for me.
Jesse says, I taught kids at Riverdale, and that was the toughest comedy audience I've ever encountered.
I bet. It's like whatever we think is funny, they're like, I don't know about that.
What do you mean?
Right. Jesse, I was at North Clayton Middle School for the release of Futureland 2, and it was a great crowd. But yeah, one of my best friends is from Clayton County, and so a lot of love for Riverdale. Shout out.
Okay, so how much hands-on research did you do? Did you take the opportunity to go to Disney World and places and check out the rides? Did you start asking them questions? I'm curious how much in-person research you did for this, because that to me would be the fun part of this experiment.
Yeah. So I didn't get to do much in-person research because we were developing the first book in this project like in the end of 2019. And so by the time we really got rolling, like most of the book was written throughout the year of 2020. And so, not only was I not at the theme park, I wasn't too many places at all.
You're right.
But I grew up really, really close to Six Flags Over Georgia, and had a season pass every so many summers. It was sickening at a point. I was just like, please don't make me go back in there. And then for my first big boy job after school, we had this partnership with Disney where we would go and work certain events. I had a marketing job, and I used to go, all expenses paid, for a week to Disney World and Disneyland every year. So I wasn't doing research then, but I've been so many times that like I had some memories in the back of my mind of like, okay, I can piece this together. And then I read a lot, as I've already mentioned, like different articles, different blogs. I kind of try to get a mix between like fact-based stuff, opinion journalism, and then just like more freelance op-eds. I look at a lot of pictures. I love to watch videos on YouTube of people walking or driving around places, just like someone with a GoPro walking around Disney World. I'm like, oh, okay, I get to see, kind of how things are laid out. I looked at a lot of maps. So yeah, I really dove into it.
I got hooked on TikTok on the live ones where they take you on the rides. That hooked me up a little bit. I got hooked on that, and I'm a big that's one of my my little distractions is watching somebody ride a roller coaster around the world from a different part of the world.
That's super cool.
Yeah, that's really interesting. because everybody has a different fascination about roller coasters and that idea. So that being said, what was your favorite ride? Do you remember your favorite ride? What one did you go on a lot when you had the season pass?
You know, funny you should ask this because almost every ride that I went on was begrudgingly. I am terrified of heights, and so
here
it
we
was
go.
like the thing to do in the summer, and so I did it. But I was not often having a good time. Like, take me to take me to the snacks and to the stuff that's low to the ground. But I do remember um, being really scared to ride the. I believe it's the Batman. It has like this harness that comes down from overhead, and then your legs are kind of like swinging a little bit.
Yeah.
And anything where I'm just like not squarely in a seat, I'm like, no, I don't know about that. But probably after like 2 or 3 summers of just avoiding it, I got on it with my friends, and I don't know if I just thought the ride was super cool or if it was just that sort of like facing my fears sort of thing. But the Batman was always a ride that I liked to do after that because I was so scared at first. And then I was like, wait, I can do this. So I don't even know if it's still there. But at one point in time, I had ridden every ride in the park. I know they made new stuff since the last time I had gone, but I had done it all and I was still scared. And that was my rationale to my friends, was like, y'all can't, there's no change in this. I'm scared no matter what.
But I mean, hey, kudos to you for conquering your fear. That's important, I think.
Try my best.
Yeah, Anita says that. Yeah, she doesn't like heights either. Never care for riding the Ferris wheel. I don't care for. I don't have a fear of heights. I don't like the Ferris wheel either. I just think it's rickety and weird.
Yeah, they put a big Ferris wheel in downtown Atlanta, maybe in like 2015, 2014, somewhere around there. And because I'm like so much like Mr. Atlanta reputation to my friends from other places, I think I like flew back from wherever I was living at the time just to go on the Ferris wheel because I had met a few people who were like, hey, you know about like Skyview? And I was like, well, I'm from Atlanta, but I'm living out of town, so I haven't been there. And they're like, it doesn't sound like you're from Atlanta to me. And I'm like, all right, I'm going back home and I'm going to ride the Ferris wheel because y'all aren't going to tell me.
Challenged.
Yeah, like I know about everything in Atlanta. You don't know more than me.
That's funny. Jesse says you'll be happy to know the entire Multiverse Convention space is on ground level.
Put my worries aside.
Other than the little hill you have to climb to get to the hotel, but I mean that's tiny.
I think I can handle that one.
Yeah, it's tiny, and your feet are still on the ground, so you're never.
That's the most important thing, right there.
Yeah, right. So you've gone through this journey where you self-published, and then you sought a traditional publisher. You captured a traditional publisher. What do you feel like is the biggest life lesson you've learned as a writer, going from that spectrum to this spectrum you're on now?
You're a great interviewer. The lesson that I feel has been one of the most challenging, but that I have the most conviction about is like, whether you know it or not, whatever type of art you make, you do have your own personal style and your own personal approach. And it may need to be refined. You may need to practice more, whatever the case might be. But you don't need to eliminate that and adopt something that's more generally palatable in order for your work to be good. And I feel like that's sort of how, like the extreme commercialization of art goes. People will say, well, this is what people want, and so make your art more like this.
Right.
And in any like sort of business relationship, so to speak, there's some give and take, there's some compromise, but I'm really, really appreciative of my initial indie years, because I think it gave me confidence that without the support of a big publishing apparatus or these, experts who do this for a living, that like people did enjoy the things that I wrote, the way that I wrote them, just off of my natural sort of, I think this is a good way to do it. And when I got to the point in my traditional journey where people would push back on certain things and say, oh, why don't you soften this up a little bit, or, do this a different way, I felt convicted in my ability and my confidence to say, no, thank you. Like, I've done this before. I know that it might be a little bit offbeat, but like, this is what makes it me. And having that sense of self, and it's not always easy, but finding the confidence and the courage to keep it with you and to stand up for yourself in that way. That's been like one of the biggest life lessons that has come out of these parallel sort of publishing journeys for me.
That's awesome. I love that idea. It's interesting because we do struggle often early on trying to find our voice, and the thing about it is that it's kind of always there, right? You just have to learn how to properly extend it to others.
Yep, I feel that's exactly how I understand it. Yep.
So you're almost done. I assume you've already written the third book, right? Is that safe to assume?
Mm-hmm.
So you're almost done with this journey. What is next for you? Do you have something planned? Are you thinking that maybe this isn't as ending as you thought it was? Maybe some characters are going to spin off? What are we looking at right now? Yeah.
I would love to be finished.
There's something to be said for that. Yeah.
I would love to be finished. The parts of the Futureland sort of universe that excite me now are like, what opportunities await, hopefully await, what potential for opportunities await in adaptations? Is there any way we can take this outside of just, all between the pages? Are there any translations that will be available? Like, I know that my team is always working on that stuff. Like, is there a way to get this to people who speak different languages and sort of just like see how far it can go? I'm excited about that stuff in terms of Futureland. And it's not anything about the world of the story that, has me looking other places, but I spent the last 4 or 5 years, writing specifically for middle graders, because that's what the series is for. And I'm excited to move into an older category of readers, write things that are a little bit more sophisticated. And I know that I'll return to middle grade at some point, but yeah, I'm like, I gave y'all 3 of these, so let me do at least a couple of like, pure YAs and go from there. So I'm thinking about self-publishing a spec book next year, and that I'm revising right now. And I have a contemporary, it's not a spec release, but I have a contemporary release next month. And then in 2026, I have a teen horror novel releasing about Lake Lanier, actually, for those of you who are familiar. And I'm getting ready to go on submission with my agent right now for a young adult fantasy. So like, I'm just really trying to get super speculative with things and trying to do more complex stories for that older reader group. And that is what I'm most excited about right now.
I was going to say, are you going to dip into horror? But that's cool. I love that. YA horror, too.
I'm there. I am there.
That's a difficult teeter-totter, YA horror.
Yeah. I think obviously I will learn a lot as we get into editorial with it. It's with my publisher right now. They're supposed to be getting me back notes soon. But I feel so like confident in the story because it's another Georgia story. Like, it's something that's close to my knowledge and close to my heart. And it's a social issue story at its core, which is another thing that I feel very competent in. So I know that things are like, like you said, it's really a little bit elusive, that YA horror space. But I think, looking in the aftermath of like Jordan Peele and some of the things that he's been able to do with those social thrillers and social horror, I'm excited about the space to create something that I don't know I would have internally, like in my mind, I don't know if I would have had this idea 5-6 years ago and thought that it was as viable as I think it is now. So
the third book's in Cairo. So you're hoping maybe there's an Egyptian translation out there, maybe for that. Is that
Man, look, a translation into Arabic would be like, that would be like a life's dream, you know?
Yeah.
It would just be so cool. And I had contacts on the ground in Cairo who were helping me with a lot of the research. And anytime I'm writing about somewhere that I don't have a lot of personal experience, I really want to have integrity and do the best I can to honor that place. You know, I don't want to talk about other people's homes and, you know, other places that other people care about so much flippantly. And so, like, Arabic is a beautiful language, and I think if somebody could take the things that I tried to make poetic and beautiful in English and put them in this other, you know, tongue, I don't. That would just be like definitely like bucket list on my wall. I had to write it down. Like something really cool happened.
Well, somebody who's social conscious like you are, I have to imagine learning about what's going on there socially. That had to touch you a little bit. I would imagine that made its way into this book, I would guess.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned, because all of the first drafts of the book, like, were done pretty much before last October. So as things have been unfolding and tensions have been rising in the Middle East, like, I wasn't actively drafting the book anymore, but I was able, in like our late revision stages, like we're already in layout, you know, I'm not really supposed to be changing too much at this point, but I was able to put a few things in that sort of like, you know, make at least those few lines, make it somewhat of a time capsule, and, you know, pay some respect and pay some homage, and just like make a little notation, etch a little something in stone so that folks know kind of like what point in time at what point in time in history we are right now, or that the art was created in, and sort of like how we feel about what's going on. And I was grateful that we weren't too far along in the process for me to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Well, this has been a fantastic conversation. It's been awesome to get to know you. I look forward to having a conversation about horror films when we meet in October. Yes. So tell everybody where they can get these wonderful books and get started on this series, so that they can come to you and at Multiverse, for those that are going to be attending, and talk to you about it.
Yeah. So my handle on pretty much everything, but I'm most active on Instagram with just like updates for my writer life, is HD Hunter Books. A lot of new news and sort of like anything that I'm about to do, I'm probably saying there first. My website is just my name, hughhdhunter.com, and you'll be able to find, like, you know, my whole backlist and a little bit more information about, you know, not just the books, but other things that I'm engaged in there. So yeah, those two places are great to sort of follow the breadcrumbs back to to getting current with the things that I have going on. And, you know, all roads kind of lead to Multiverse, and after Multiverse, the end of the trilogy. But it's been great to be here, and I really appreciate you sharing the space with me. Thanks for a really great interview and great conversation.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, my friend. It was nice to meet you and talk to you. And everybody, but speaking of the future and future land, you know, Go Indie Now is headed toward a fall season, where this is our season mid-season finale of this show, but we have more to come. So here's a little sneak preview of that, as we are a sponsor of Multiverse, so we're taking this opportunity to promote ourselves a little bit here tonight, and then I'll be back to wrap things up and tell you all about some opportunities that you have. Thank you, Hugh. Nice to meet you, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
All right. Thank you. Y'all take care.
Vagabonds and marriages,
always time to go indie now. And yeah, we're real excited about our fall season. There's a lot more even beyond that to come. It's just a little taste of what we've got going on. We've got new shows from AF Stewart coming at the end of the fall. We're going to do this year in indies as well. So, you know, our favorites of the year we'll be talking about. There'll be plenty of stuff. We'll be live from Multiverse in October. That'll be awesome. I'll be real excited about that. And we'll be doing a lot of great stuff. There's just so much more out there. We'll have more spotlights. We'll have more reviews and things like that too. So the future is bright for Go Indie Now as well as it is for Multiverse. And this is good. This is our mid-season finale. So this is my last opportunity to remind you all that pre-registration is available at multiversecon.org. The link has always been in the description. So whatever episode you're watching of this show, hopefully you find that link and you click on it and you join us. If not for this year, next year, look at, they have infinity passes. They've got all kinds of really great stuff that you can be a part of to become a member of the Multiverse family. We would love to have you and see you in October. So I hope that you take that opportunity to take a look at that and remind yourself, as Mr. Hunter so eloquently said, hey, if you're in Atlanta, if you're in the southern states in the area and you're not attending Multiverse, what are you doing? This is a great opportunity. You should jump on it if you're near here. It's just an amazing event. And along with that, if you're still not convinced, there's still more opportunity for you. You get a chance to volunteer. Come on. Is that time of the year again where we need you. Volunteer applications for the Multiverse Convention are now open. Join us and become part of the team, because Multiverse would not exist without the dedicated help of the wonderful folks who volunteer their time and skills to make it all work. It's a great way to make friends and experience the convention from the inside. All people, interests, abilities, and skill levels are welcome. The details are on the website. Hey, you never know, you could do a good enough job just like this guy did as a volunteer and get your picture taken with the bosses. That being said, volunteering is a really good way to get into the Multiverse Convention because it allows you, if you perform 12 hours of service at Multiverse, to enjoy the con itself. So, what are you waiting for? Volunteer today, and you can learn more information about the Multiverse Convention and volunteering at multiversecon.org/volunteer. I know this is not my last spotlight of 2024, but again, I would be remiss in our mid-season finale as we head toward a little bit of a break and be back in September with more shows, more guests, and more people to meet, and more to add to your TBR and TBL and artistry and enjoy some art that all is created here at Multiverse by the people who are involved in it. I would be remiss if I did not once again thank Allison, Jesse, and Vanessa for this opportunity to do this show. I am humbled. I am honored. It's just been the joy of my life to represent something that I truly have found has been one of the best things that ever happened in my life, and that's Multiverse. And so to talk about it here on my channel and give you all a taste of that and bring people into this world, I'm really, really grateful for that. And I'm grateful for each and every one of you for watching, commenting, subscribing, doing all the things you do for us each and every week. But thank you to my friends at Multiverse, Allison, Jesse, and Vanessa. I am super appreciative of this opportunity. And like I said, we'll be back in September, everybody. But in the meantime, it's always time to go indie now. We'll see you again soon. Bye.